We talk to a lot of writers on 207, but here's something that doesn't happen too often. When we get to interview an author whose book has just landed on the New York Times bestseller list. That is the case with Leila Philipp, the author of Beaverland, How One Weird Rodent Made America, and she's with us here in our studio. Thanks for coming in. It's nice to have you. Let's begin with how you came to write this book. You observed beavers outside of your home, not far from your home, in Connecticut. What was it about them that made you say, you know what, I want to write an entire book about beavers?
I was taking a walk in the woods one day, and a beaver slammed her tail. I had no idea what was going on. I thought a gun had gone off. But then when I looked and saw what was happening and started to watch what was happening, the transformation of the woodland from marsh to pond, and the tenacity of this animal, I was hooked. That was the beginning.
Well, beavers have quite a history, and you tell a lot of it. We'll touch on just one part. Going back to the colonial era, European settlers began trapping beavers at enormous rates. Beaver pelts were tremendously valuable. What was the appeal back then?
Well, you have to remember that once they figured out in Europe that beaver fur, which is incredibly lustrous, I mean, there's something like 126,000 strands of beaver fur on a postage-sized stamp of fur. That's as much hair as on a human head. And it's barbed, so it made incredible felt. And so a hat made out of beaver fur was like the Gore-Tex of its day. It's no exaggeration to say that beavers jump-started transatlantic trade, and then by the 19th century, they revved up the engines of capitalism in North America.
Let's talk about some of the things that make beavers so interesting. Like humans, they rearrange their environment, and there are very few species that really do that to the level that they do, right?
Beavers are brilliant at building. So the largest animal construction on the planet is a beaver dam. It's in northern Alberta, and they build the habitat they need, which is water. And that's lucky for us, because all of our problems accelerated by climate change have to do with water. So beaver altered wetlands help us with flooding, they help us with drought, they help us with loss of biodiversity, they help us with dwindling supplies of groundwater. You name it. If you have beavers in your neighborhood, you are lucky.
They build the dams to protect their lodges, right? And they have extraordinary sensory capacity to detect flowing water. How does that work?
Well, they also build those damming complexes to create water because they're sort of water farmers. They need water to live in, and they need the aquatic vegetation that grows in those ponds. But how they detect that water is a bit of a mystery. The thinking is that their tails, which are, I call beavers wonderfully weird. They have, they're kind of this mishmash of animal parts, part bear, part monkey, part lizard. They got this crazy, wonderful tail. The belief is that all the blood vessels in the tail are sensitive enough to indicate water pressure changes. So if you break a beaver dam, very quickly beavers will swim out and fix it. And partly that's because they can feel water pressure changes, it's believed, by their tail. Also, the sound of running water definitely triggers beavers.
Over the years, beavers were at many times considered pests. That is not at all accurate. They play a key role in a healthy environment, and this was the bigger story that you wanted to tell, one of hope and resilience when it comes to beavers.
They've been dubbed ecosystem engineers because they transform the environment, and they can help us with their beaver wetlands for sure.
They absolutely do help us. Again, the name of the book, Beaverland, How One Weird Rodent Made America. Leila, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you being here. If you'd like more information on the book, more information on the author, you know what to do. Head to the 207 section of our app or website and stay with us. 207 will return right after this.